I woke up to the sound of rain tapping against the window pane. It was a dark and stormy night, and I found myself in a remote cabin nestled deep within the woods. The flickering candle on the table provided the only source of light, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Little did I know that this night would become a nightmare I'd never forget. I had chosen this cabin as a secluded getaway, seeking solace from the chaos of the city. But as I sat there, the isolation started to feel suffocating. The storm outside grew fiercer, the wind howling through the trees like a chorus of lost souls. Trying to shake off the unease, I decided to distract myself by exploring the cabin. It was a rustic place, with wooden beams and creaky floorboards that groaned under my weight. As I wandered from room to room, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. A chill ran down my spine, and a sense of dread settled in my gut. I retreated to the living room, hoping to find comfort in the warmth of the crackling fireplace. But as I settled into the worn-out armchair, I noticed something peculiar: a faded photograph on the mantel. It depicted a family, their smiling faces frozen in time. It seemed out of place in this desolate cabin. Curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to investigate further. The cabin had a small library, filled with dusty books that seemed untouched for years. Among them, I discovered a journal, its pages yellowed with age. I opened it cautiously, revealing the words of a previous occupant. The journal spoke of strange occurrences and unexplainable phenomena within the cabin. The writer described hearing whispers in the dead of night and seeing shadowy figures lurking in the corners. The more I read, the more I became convinced that something sinister dwelled within these walls. Determined to uncover the truth, I delved deeper into the cabin's history. I discovered that it was built by a family who met a tragic end under mysterious circumstances. Locals whispered of a curse that plagued the place, claiming that anyone who stayed there would suffer the same fate. As the storm raged on outside, I felt a growing presence, an invisible force that seemed to tighten its grip around me. The cabin had become a prison, and I was its unwilling captive. Every creak of the floorboards sent shivers down my spine, and every gust of wind made me jump in fear. Night fell, and with it came a thick fog that enveloped the cabin. The darkness seemed to seep into my very soul, filling me with an indescribable dread. In the silence, I could hear whispers, faint and ghostly, as if the spirits of the past were trying to communicate with me. I barricaded myself in the bedroom, desperate for some semblance of safety. But as I lay there, my heart pounding in my chest, I heard a scratching sound coming from the door. Slowly, I approached it, trembling with every step. I cautiously opened the door, only to be greeted by an empty hallway. The night wore on, and the horrors escalated. The whispers grew louder, the shadows danced with malicious intent. I felt a presence in the room, an icy breath on the back of my neck. I turned around, and there, standing before me, was a ghostly figure, a manifestation of the cabin's dark past. Paralyzed with fear, I could only watch as the figure moved closer, its eyes filled with sorrow and longing. It spoke, its voice a haunting melody, recounting the family's tragic tale. Their spirits were trapped, unable to find peace until the curse was broken. With every word, I felt a surge of empathy. I knew then that I had to unravel the mystery and set their souls free. Gathering my courage, I embarked on a journey to uncover the truth behind the curse, following clues hidden within the cabin's walls. Days turned into nights as I pieced together the fragments of the past. I discovered a hidden compartment beneath the floorboards, revealing a long-lost letter that held the key to breaking the curse. It spoke of forgiveness and redemption, of releasing the pain that bound the spirits to the cabin. Armed with this newfound knowledge, I returned to the cabin and performed a ritual to cleanse the space. As the incense burned and the words of forgiveness echoed through the air, I felt a wave of peace wash over me. The spirits disappeared, their burden finally lifted. The storm outside subsided and the sun peeked through the clouds, casting a warm glow on the cabin. I knew then that I had accomplished something extraordinary, a feat that would forever be etched in the annals of time. Leaving the cabin behind, I walked away, forever changed by the experience. The horrors I encountered had tested my courage and resilience, but they had also taught me the power of compassion and the strength of the human spirit. And as I stepped out into the fresh air, I couldn't help but feel a sense of liberation. The weight that had burdened the cabin was lifted, and the once eerie place now held a serene beauty. In the days that followed, I couldn't shake off the memories of that fateful night. The cabin had become a part of me, a chapter in my life that would forever be etched in my mind. I vowed to share the story, to warn others of the darkness that lurked within those walls. Years later, I returned to the cabin, not as a victim, but as a storyteller. I had written a book, a chilling account of my experiences, and the cabin had become a place of intrigue for thrill seekers and paranormal enthusiasts. It stood as a testament to the power of human resilience and the triumph over darkness. As I stood before the cabin, visitors bustling around me, I couldn't help but smile. The place that once held fear now held fascination, and I had played a part in its transformation. The cabin had become a beacon of hope, a reminder that even in the most terrifying situations, there is always a glimmer of light. And so, the cabin horror story continues to be told, passed down from generation to generation. It serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder to tread carefully in the face of the unknown. And for those who dare to step foot inside, they will forever be reminded of the power of forgiveness, the strength of the human spirit, and the enduring legacy of the haunted cabin in the woods. As the sun began to set on a chilly autumn evening, I found myself driving through the dense woods, searching for the secluded cabin I had rented for a much-needed getaway. The winding road seemed to stretch on endlessly, surrounded by towering trees that loomed ominously in the fading light. As I navigated deeper into the wilderness, a sense of unease settled in the pit of my stomach, but I brushed it off as mere nerves. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the cabin emerged from the shadows. It stood alone, its weathered wooden exterior blending seamlessly with the surrounding forest. I parked my car and stepped out, taking in the crisp air and the serene silence that enveloped the area. It was the perfect escape from the chaos of the city, or so I thought. Upon entering the cabin, I was struck by an unsettling feeling. There was an inexplicable heaviness in the air, as if the very walls were whispering secrets. Ignoring my unease, I unpacked my belongings and settled in for the night, determined to make the most of my time away. As darkness descended, strange occurrences began to unfold. I would hear faint whispers echoing through the cabin, but when I searched for their source, I found nothing. Doors would creak open or slam shut on their own accord, and objects would move inexplicably from one place to another. Each night, I would awake to the sound of footsteps pacing back and forth outside my bedroom door. Yet when I opened it to confront the intruder, the hallway would be empty. My nerves frayed with each passing day. I tried to rationalize the events, blaming the old cabin's creaking structure and my overactive imagination. But the feeling of being watched never left me, even when I was alone. Shadows danced in the corners of my vision, and the sensation of icy fingers grazing my skin sent shivers down my spine. One stormy night, as rain lashed against the windows, the true horrors of the cabin revealed themselves. I awoke to find myself paralyzed, unable to move or scream. A dark figure stood at the foot of my bed, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. It whispered in a voice that chilled me to the bone, recounting tales of tragedy and despair that had plagued the cabin for decades. As the figure vanished, I was released from its grip, gasping for air. Fear consumed me, and I knew I had to escape the cabin's clutches. With trembling hands, I packed my belongings, desperate to leave the nightmare behind. But as I made my way to the door, a force pushed me back, as if the cabin itself was determined to keep me trapped within its walls. In a final act of defiance, I broke free from the invisible hold and sprinted towards my car. With the cabin growing smaller in my rearview mirror, a profound sense of relief washed over me. I had survived the horrors of the cabin, but the memories would haunt me forever. To this day, I cannot explain the true nature of the cabin's malevolence. Whether it was a manifestation of dark spirits or simply the product of an overactive imagination, I will never know. But one thing is certain: I will never forget the long, terrifying nights spent in that cursed cabin in the woods. It was a cold and stormy night when I arrived at the remote cabin, nestled deep within the woods. The rain poured relentlessly, creating a symphony of drumming on the rooftop. The sound was both eerie and comforting, as if the cabin itself was singing a haunting lullaby. I had decided to take a weekend getaway to escape the chaos of the city, seeking solace in the tranquility of nature. Little did I know that this cabin held secrets darker than the night that surrounded it. As I stepped inside, the scent of mildew and decay filled my nostrils. The air was heavy, almost suffocating. Ignoring the unsettling atmosphere, I set my bags down and ventured further into the cabin, determined to make myself at home. The interior was dimly lit by a flickering oil lamp, casting eerie shadows on the peeling wallpaper. The place seemed frozen in time, trepid in a bygone era. Old photographs adorned the walls, capturing the faces of unknown inhabitants who stared at me with hollow eyes. A sense of unease settled deep within my bones, but I dismissed it as mere imagination. I reassured myself that it was just the isolation playing tricks on my mind. Little did I know, I was far from alone. As night fell, the storm intensified, unleashing its fury upon the cabin. The wind howled like a tortured soul, rattling the windows and causing the cabin to creak and groan in protest. Shadows danced along the walls, their movements unsettlingly synchronized with the storm outside. Curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to explore the cabin further. I stumbled upon a locked door in the basement, its surface covered in layers of dust. The door seemed to call out to me, whispering secrets and promises of adventure. Against my better judgment, I searched for the key. After what felt like an eternity of rummaging through drawers and cabinets, I found a small, rusted key hidden inside an old book. Trembling with anticipation, I made my way back to the basement door. As I turned the key in the lock, a wave of dread washed over me. The door creaked open, revealing a narrow staircase descending into darkness. My heart pounded in my chest, but I couldn't resist the urge to uncover the cabin's secrets. With each step, the air grew colder and the silence became oppressive. The darkness swallowed me whole, enveloping me in its suffocating embrace. I reached the bottom of the stairs and fumbled for a light switch, but found none. I was consumed by an abyss of blackness. Suddenly, a faint glow emerged from the darkness, illuminating a room filled with ancient relics and oddities. My eyes widened in horror as I realized that these artifacts were not mere curiosities, but macabre trophies. The room was a shrine to something far more sinister. I felt a presence behind me, a cold breath on the back of my neck. I turned, my heart racing with fear. Standing before me was a figure clad in tattered clothes, its face obscured by shadows. Its eyes gleamed with a malevolent light, and a wicked smile curved across its lips. I wanted to scream, to run, and escape the clutches of the cabin's dark secrets, but my body refused to obey. The figure moved closer, its steps slow and deliberate. It whispered words of ancient incantations, filling the room with a haunting melody. With each passing moment, the figure's presence grew stronger, suffocating me with its malevolence. I was paralyzed, trapped in a nightmare from which there seemed to be no escape. The cabin's secrets had claimed me as their own. As the figure reached out to touch me, a sudden burst of courage surged through my veins. I mustered all my strength and broke free from its grasp. Running blindly through the darkness, I stumbled my way back up the stairs, fueled by sheer terror. I burst out of the basement, gasping for breath, and slammed the door shut behind me. The cabin trembled as if in protest, but I cared not. I raced to my car, never looking back, desperate to leave the nightmare behind. As I sped away, the storm began to subside, and the rain turned into a gentle drizzle. I glanced at the rear-view mirror, half expecting to see the figure chasing after me, but there was only darkness. The cabin faded into the distance, becoming nothing more than a haunting memory. Its secrets remained buried within its walls, locked away from the world. I vowed never to return, to leave the horrors of that night behind. But even now, as I sit in the safety of my home, a chill runs down my spine whenever the wind howls and the rain pours. The cabin's dark secrets still linger, a reminder that some horrors are best left undisturbed.